We're at this really interesting turning point with AI. For a while now, we've used it as a smart assistant, right? To help us write an email or, finish a line of code. But the next massive leap, it's not about assisting us anymore. It's about full-on automation. We're talking about AI agents that can handle complex jobs all on their own. And today, we're going to dig into what it really takes to build them.
And just to see where we're headed, you gotta look at how fast we're already moving. I mean, just 1 year ago, less than half of developers were using AI in their daily work. And today, that number has absolutely exploded to over 76%. This isn't just some gradual trend, folks. It's a tidal wave. It's already blown past most predictions for like 2030. And all this adoption, it's the launchpad for what's coming next. AI agents.
And this quote just nails the shift in thinking, right? So far, AI has been all about augmentation, making us faster, making us smarter, but the real revolution, the breakthrough that's going to unlock a whole new level of productivity, is true automation. It's about building systems that don't just help you with a task, but can own a complex, multi-step process from beginning to end, and that is the promise of AI agents.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question. We hear this term AI agent thrown around all the time, but what does it actually mean? Like, what are the core pieces that make an agent tick? Let's build a really simple mental model so we can get our heads around its anatomy.
So pretty much every AI agent can be broken down into 4 key parts. First up, you've got the client. That's the interface, what you talk to. Behind that is the AI itself, the LLM that does all the thinking and planning. Then you have the workflows, which are kind of like the executive branch that coordinates the whole operation. And finally, you have the tools, the action takers that actually go out and connect to other systems. To really understand how to build one, we're going to tackle the hardest parts first, the tools and the workflows.
All right, let's dive into tools. Now, the main challenge here is getting an AI to reliably use systems that live outside of itself, like calling an API or querying a database. The new LLMs have gotten shockingly good at tool calling, at figuring out when they should use a tool. The problem is, building the sturdy infrastructure to actually let them do it, well, that's not simple at all.
So, to solve this, the community came up with a standard called MCP, or Model Component Protocol. Think of it like a universal translator between your AI and all your tools. It sets up a stable client-server setup so your AI, the client, can reliably ask a tool server to do things. It's a brilliant standard in theory, but trying to build that server from scratch, well, that's where the real headaches start.
Yeah, if you decide to build an MCP server yourself, you just hit this wall of complexity. First, you've got to figure out transport protocols, like WebSockets, just to get the agent and tools talking in real time. Then there's authentication. And I mean, anyone who's wrestled with OAuth knows how painful that can be. Then you have to build a whole system for memory and state, from the ground up, just so the agent can remember what it did a few minutes ago. And on top of all that, you have to manually define and connect every single tool. It's exactly the kind of boring heavy lifting that developers absolutely hate.
But what if you could just skip all of that? What if there was a way to get all that power without any of the pain? Well, it turns out there's a cheat code.
This is the difference, right here. The hard way? You're setting up databases, you're wrestling with latency and scaling issues, you're building complicated auth systems from scratch. The cheat code way, using a modern framework like Cloudflare's Agents SDK, just flips the whole script. State management isn't some extra thing you bolt on. It's built in. It scales automatically. Auth is handled for you. All of that nasty complexity just disappears.
Let's make this real with a quick example, say a book recommendation agent. Instead of messing with infrastructure, you just define your agent, you give it a tool to learn your favorite genres, and a second tool to go fetch recommendations. You can toss in a personalized prompt to guide it, and here's the magic part. The state, all your genre preferences, is automatically saved for the next time you talk to it. That complex state management becomes just a few lines of code.
Okay, so we've given our agent tools. That's a huge first step. But what happens when a task involves multiple steps? Or what if it requires waiting for something or for someone? This brings us to the second really hard part, workflows. This is that critical coordination layer that manages those long, complicated processes.
And that someone brings us to this super important idea called human in the loop.
This is any point where the agent has to just stop and wait for a person to give it some input or an approval. And that wait, it could be 2 minutes or it could be 2 days. So how does an agent just pause for that long without totally losing its memory and its place in the workflow?
This credit card approval process is a perfect example. A user asks for a new card in a chat. The agent kicks things off, but then it has to pause, right? It's waiting for a manager to approve it, and that approval might come hours later as a simple message on Slack. The technical challenge here is immense. The system has to somehow find and wake up the exact right agent, restore its memory of that original request, and then just seamlessly pick up where it left off. Trying to manage that with traditional tech is a complete nightmare.
But with a stateful agent, these problems are basically solved by design. The agent state is just automatically persisted during that long pause. When the manager's approval finally shows up, it gets intelligently routed back to the correct agent that's been waiting. And because the agent remembers everything, it prevents dumb mistakes, like issuing the same credit card twice. All that crazy complexity of retries and routing and scaling is just handled for you.
So, we've tackled the two hardest parts of building these agents, giving them reliable tools and managing those complex, long-running workflows. And once you have that solid, stateful foundation in place, the rest of the pieces, the AI model you pick, the client interface you build, that all becomes incredibly flexible.
And this is the real power of building on the standard like MCP. Once your agent's backend is up and running, you're free to connect it to almost anything you want. You can plug it directly into apps your users already use and love, like Cursor or ChatGPT. You can build a totally custom web or mobile front end for it. Heck, you can even create voice-activated agents with WebRTC. Your agent's brain and arms are ready for any interface you can dream up.
So look, we've seen how the biggest, most annoying barriers to building powerful, stateful AI agents are just rapidly disappearing. The tools are finally here to make the hard parts easy. Which really leaves us with the final, and I think most exciting question of all. Now that the path is clear, what are you going to automate first? Thanks for joining us.